It was a third grade teacher, and she said, boys and girls, let's surprise Mrs. Elliot with how quiet we can be. And then she turned the lights off to tame the wild animals. And she left, and we were quiet. By the window, we hear this. We turned and looked, and it was Warren Brennan, who never cried. And he held out his hand. He said, I cut my hand. Now, we all got up out of our seats because there was this unspoken rule we knew in our classroom is when you see blood, you can get out of your seat. I turned to Mike, because Mike's dad was a doctor. I said, what do you think, Mike? He said, well, my dad says if a kid loses 2 pints of blood, he dies. Someone had to go get Mrs. Elliot so she could come back and send him down to the nurse's office. We said, Emily, go. And she said, no. We said, you have to go. No, we can't. Why not? Because you're not supposed to be in the hall without permission. And then someone said, hey, what if someone goes with you? And that was when she looked at me. Because if someone was going to be in the hallway, why not Bill? He spent half the day in the hallway anyway. They said, Bill will go. And Emily wasn't sure. They said, come on. And Warren said, ah. And Mike said, he's lost a pint. And she said, all right. And we head out the door, and I start running down the hallway. And Emily says, no running. I said, why? You might trip and hurt yourself. I said, Emily, you sound like you're 46 years old already. Got to the door. We looked up. Teacher's lounge. Staff only. And Emily said, knock on the door. I said, what? She said, knock on the door. So bossy. Boom, boom, help! Boom, Warren's dying! Boom, there's blood everywhere! They were getting nervous, like, what are we gonna do? And Emily looked at me, she said, open the door. I said, what? She said, open the door. I said, you open the door. She said, I can't. I said, you have to. She said, I don't think I like you anymore. I said, that's okay, I can live with that. Open the door. And then in that moment, Emily had to decide between what she thought she was supposed to do and what she had to do. Sometimes there's a difference. And Emily knew that. She reached and she pushed it open. We looked in and I said, wow! And Emily said, oh my goodness. It was like all of the teachers in the school were in there. And everybody was applauding and laughing. Mrs. Elliot came up to us. She wasn't surprised to see me. Big deal, Bill's in the hallway. But she said, Emily, what are you doing here? And Emily said, Warren's dying. He cut his hand and you have to come. And I didn't want to because we're not supposed to, but I did. I did. I'm sorry. And Mrs. Elliot said, honey, it's okay. It is? Yeah, you go back to class. I'll be right there. And she shut the door on us. And we heard more laughter. And there was nothing to do but turn around and go back. Mrs. Elliot was right behind us. She sent Warren down and he came back with a Band-Aid and a cough drop. But here's what I want to tell you. The things that happen to you when you're a kid are very important, even if no one else knows about them, because they make us who we are.